Hi everyone, I'm Matt Andrzejewski, and I'll be your instructor this semester for Psych 215 Basic Statistical Methods. Wanted to make this brief video to introduce the course and what we're going to be doing, and a little bit about me. There's a lot more information on the website on learning management software stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. But at first, we may want to discuss the question, why are you taking statistics? Why is it so important? Why is it one of the few requirements for a psych major? The answer is pretty straightforward, and that is that when we want to figure something out, statistics is the best way really to discover or answer a question, learn something about the world. We can use critical thinking to come up with an answer. We can ask an authority figure like a doctor or a lawyer or some professional, but there are problems with that. You could even have a religious experience, but I would contend that collecting data is the surest way to learn about the world. To answer questions about something that has an impact on humanity, it's best to collect data. It's best to perform an experiment or do research. And the problem is, in psychology and the behavioral sciences, the data we collect is always so confusing, and it's an incomprehensible jumble of numbers, incoherent, and they're all over the place. And we try to make sense of these, and that's what statistics provides. Statistical procedures are tools for learning about the world by learning from data. We make sense of data by using statistics. So our objectives for the course are, we're going to be trying to develop an understanding of what data represent, utilize methods for summarizing and describing data, develop skills for performing basic data analyses, drawing inferences from samples to larger groups. It's a really important aspect of the second half of the course. Conduct statistical analyses on a personal computer, and I hope at the end you'll develop a critical attitude in the reception of statistical information. I'm not saying a cynical attitude, a critical attitude. We're going to be doing the same thing throughout the semester per unit, basically, to facilitate learning and learning about statistics and learning about data. There's going to be a reading assignment, there's an associated PowerPoint lecture, there's demonstrations for PowerPoint. These are all going to be online at this point. They're on-the-board exercises. We'll practice them. There's a lab in which we're going to learn how to do statistical analyses in a personal computer, especially with Excel. There's practice. There are problem sets which will be graded. I'm going to give you feedback on those problem sets, and then we're going to repeat it over and over again, like it says on a shampoo bottle: rinse and repeat. So the reading assignments are going to come from a book called Learning from Data, which I'm an author on with Art Klenberg. It has explanations and examples, definitions, formula, practice exercises, and tables. And if you look through the book a little bit, if you got 5 minutes, peruse through it. There are a lot of great resources. There's a glossary. There are definitions. There, at the end of chapter, there are often tables and forms that show you step by step how to do particular things. And likewise, in the workbook that I've created, there are also those sorts of things. So the workbook accompanies the textbook in that there's a checklist, there's step-by-step instructions, there's examples, there's practices, there's formula, and there's something called the decision tree, which we're going to be spending a little bit of time on in the second half of the semester. This book, if you were taking this course face-to-face, you would have literally a workbook to work in, but because this is an online section, all of these chapters or units are PDFs on the Learning Management Software site. As I said before, we're going to be learning a lot. We're going to be learning all the techniques that we need to learn how to do in Excel. Excel is a super, super powerful spreadsheet program. I assume that you know nothing. In fact, the first unit in the workbook that you're going to be completing is just an introduction to Excel, how to use it as a calculator, how to use formula, how to organize data, and so on and so forth. We're also going to be working with real data to help you understand the power and usefulness of statistics. We're going to explore 2 real data sets that we've acquired on this, we call them the Smoking Study and the Maternity Study. You can read more about them in the book, but the Smoking Study is from Dr. Tim Baker. There's over 600 participants in a smoking cessation study, and we have a lot of data to work through in that. And then there was the Maternity Study performed by Janet Hyde and Marilyn Essex at UW-Madison. They used 244 families, mainly from Madison and Milwaukee, and they studied marital satisfaction and the impact of having a first child on the family. So enormous data sets, real data sets. They have some pimples in them, some problems, some issues, and we'll be talking about all those things as we go. So your grade in this class is going to be based on a couple of graded assignments. There are 11 problem sets, which closely follow from each of the units. They're 4 points each. Best 10 will count. I dropped the lowest grade. There are 2 exams, 30 points each. Each exam has 2 parts. There's a computational part, and then there's a conceptual sort of part. All this will be performed online. The problem sets, I have a unique policy called a resubmission policy, and that is you don't get credit for a problem set until you do it entirely correct. So if you don't succeed the first time, if you have less than, I would say, about 95% of the problem set correct, it'll be returned to you. You'll have a 0 in the gradebook, but you'll have an opportunity to resubmit it as many times as you want for credit. Now, you won't get full credit upon each resubmission. I dock you a little bit, but you can get 4 points for a submission that is completely correct the first time on time. So hopefully that provides some incentive for you to do that. It's called my resubmission policy. When you submit a homework online, I will be giving you feedback and commenting on what you need to do to correct it if you need to correct it. I'm going to be giving you a link to a lecture on how to use Canvas for this course and show you some of the highlights in a little bit. So that's it for now. Please look for that Canvas lecture, and after that, you could probably go ahead and get started. Thanks for your attention. Hope to have a great semester. Bye.